containers, and, you know, we talked about, like, what types of, things we felt we could defend in the community as, you know, but yeah, I mean, I think we do have to start talking about, I mean, if we're serious about reducing taxes, which is, you know, as I've said to all of you guys, people are not gonna see a reduction in their tax bills, so what difference does it make, but anyhow.
I really disagree with you.
I do too.
Because I know that,
I know you've given up.
your thoughts on that.
I'm different, that's why I still have thrown in the towel.
The number one thing that came up on the survey.
We got tried.
And like.
But everybody voted for a tax increase.
Not everybody.
A majority.
And.
Not my voters.
I just revisit back on the public works before we just lose it out. So one of the things, if you'll recall, after we did, you know, the walking tour, we were talking about public works, and one of the things that you echoed again tonight was the fact that, you know, having someone from the outside, you know, whatever. So that was voiced when looking at DPW services. So we're gonna be coming back to you, like we said we would, with, you know, remember in that meeting we went through a more detailed scope of what do we want included with that. You're gonna see that, and I forget which meeting it's on, but it's coming to you anytime soon. In either August or September, and then, you know, we have related that time we were going to budget for that, and a lot of what, you know, comes out of looking at is how are you staffed based on how you provide services, you know, one of the. Correct, because as Leanne said, you know, your fleet's going to be a reflection of how you're staffing for certain things, because it requires equipment in order to perform the service.
And supplies and
Correct.
all kinds of things.
Maintenance
But
and
I mean,
maintenance
it does
person
come
and-
down to the service and the cost of a particular service.
So I think one of the opportunities that we're going to have is the opportunity to look at that and as a group say, okay, here's what an outside group is saying, let's take a look at some of those services and where we wanna see or look to in the future. What do we wanna evaluate for? That's one thing that I mean, that's just one of the inherent things that you learn as a part of, but we need to look at the services, cause there's a number of things. There's never anything taken off the service list.
But even, sometimes you can just like
Perennials on
security at the courthouse. You're not taking the security off, they just outsourced it, so it's not, so there's those types too, where you're not eliminating a service, but you're changing the service model.
And just again, to kind of circle back briefly, I mean, there are some fairly good delineations in the public works budget in particular for service delivery categories, and that's how the budget's organized, and that will give some context to the amount of resources that each one of those service delivery areas.
But it all falls down to
Impacts.
snowplowing, because every time those talk about it in budget, we've had these conversations, it'll be like, well, we'll need that for winter, you know, it's, because they're overlapping, it gets a little confusing. It's like, oh, you know, could we eliminate that service? No, because we need that truck for this, and it's, I don't know how to get their handle on that, but I'm guessing that you're right.
I think we have
that-
routinely responded that staffing levels are built for winter events, but I don't know that we've ever said, well, we can't get rid of that. So, yeah, I
Okay.
mean, because of our size, everything we do is intertwined. It's just,
You don't
and
have
that's a
to-
good thing, because it means that we're
We're
using
being
every
efficient, right?
resource more efficiently. But it is challenging when you try to,
Right,
to
and
peel
maybe
things
the
apart.
consultant will do that, will say, well, if you wanted to outsource the service, or you wanted to just get, these are the other things that have to go. I mean, that, so anyways, if the direction is, how do we save money, maybe someone can come back to us to say, this is the domino effect. So, and then we can make a policy decision on that. I'm
Well, I
ready
think
for
we've
that.
always, you know, been able to say to the village manager, we want a 1%, or 1.5%, 0%, whatever, and, you know, they've
Yeah.
come to us with some options, so,
Okay.
most of the time.
Okay, was that,
Well, I just wanna express that, again, Joel put a lot of work into not only these primary and secondary sources, but he also created a fact sheet for each piece of equipment. And again, we hope you find that adds to the process, although it may not answer all of the questions. I mean, staff is trying to be responsive to the types of things that we do hear coming out of various discussions.
No,
And you'll
this is
update it every year, is it like a yearly thing? Okay.
How much time did it take them to do this?
Many hours.
How many?
I didn't track, Joel may have, a lot, many days and weeks, interspersed with alleys and sidewalks and garbage and all the other fun stuff.
I mean, 'cause staff time is a resource too, that we have been told that we, is limited, of course, so. I mean, this was not one of the priorities for 2019, so, but I'm just curious how much staff.
It was on my
Yeah,
work plan.
it was on the work plan as a result, and it was talked about, at the conclusion of budget.
Let's talk about a budget. And I guess it's the first step, right? It's still,
I hope this is the last step, I mean, geez.
well, I'm like small pickup truck for parks and beautifications. I'm pretty sure if I went through, there's more pickup trucks. I'd have to pull that information together from this information, which is fine. Like, here's one for pickup, and it's for parks, so it's 2. But anyways, I can do that. I can try to pull it together.
Well, we have several pickup trucks.
I know, I remember bringing that up in budget, I was like, but do we need them all? Yes.
Yes.
Okay.
At the current service level and provision, we do. But if you have specific questions about specific vehicles at any time, we would be happy to pull those out, show you the vehicle, explain
I see that,
any of that.
okay. Sounds good, does anyone else have any questions? Oh,
I'm good.
all right, is there another agenda item for this? Mine are different numbers, I don't need to run.
Well,
The fee schedule?
fee schedule
Oh,
updates?
schedule.
Thank you.
I'm agreeing with it. Okay.
So another thing that's built into the work plans, for me and for staff in general, is to review the fee schedule annually and bring forth any updates in advance of the budget cycle, so that is, not needed to be done in the throngs of budget deliberations. Again, that's a very intensive process, so we try to parse out as much as we can from that process, both for staff and the village board. So last year, we did a comprehensive review and update consolidation of the fee schedule. Very extensive process. This year, staff reviewed it. We've got, I believe it's a total of 5 changes. 3 of them are more clerical in nature, on page 4, 5, and 7 of the fee schedule. And I've attached a highlighted copy of the fee schedule reflecting those changes. The 2 items that are a little more of a change would be recommendation to change the operator's license from $80 for every 2 years to $40 per year. So cumulatively, that's not a fiscal impact, it's a procedural thing that we want to change.
I'm just curious, why?
Everything else is annual.
Is that-
Sarah, do you want
It's
Kind of.
easier to track
Okay.
annually. We haven't in the past, like, kept track of who's at what establishment. Therefore, we can't really track if they really are still there and renewing.
Yep.
So it's just easier to work
Okay.
with the businesses that way. And then people don't forget, like, they forget if it's every other year. It's like, oh, do I need to, yeah, because we don't send them reminders, we send the establishment a reminder, so.
Okay.
And then the other change is an increase on the design review board fee for residential from 35 to 50. That came from our planning department, and I did, for your reference, include what the Whitefish Bay and Bayside fees currently are. So absent any direction to the contrary, staff will bring those forward for action at a future meeting.
Yes.
Just out of curiosity, the triple permit fee, or is it, we just wanna be more punitive there, I take it?
That was a a discussion of how we apply, whether you apply the regular permit and then it's double for being late, or whether it's triple if you do it after the fact because you didn't have the original permit. So we're just really clarifying, that is, from
It's the permit
my
fee.
perspective, the historical intent of what that fee has always been.
Okay, so last year when we talked about the fee schedule, there was a couple that I don't still see.
Wait, I still have a question about this. So if I had to pay $100 in a permit fee and I didn't get the permit, then I would always now, I would pay I'd be charged $300. That's how we're
Correct.
doing
Today.
it now.
If you started work before.
Right, they caught you.
It was an interpretation of, if the permit's $100, is it a triple fee 300, or is it a permit fee plus a double, a permit fee plus a double fine to total 300? So it's not changing the intent of what is being charged. And the ordinance also does currently say triple fee, but at some time it was changed to say double fee with the intent of saying, oh, it's the actual fee plus a double fine.
So the ordinance says it's
The
triple.
ordinance says triple, and that's easier for people to understand when you say,
Instead of 300, it's gonna be 900.
right, if you just explain to someone and say, oh, it's actually either permit and a double fine, it's the same, they're like, well, no, it's triple, it just works easier to say triple.
Well, I mean, I think it's a little punitive, but if that's the way the ordinance is written, I guess we would have to change the ordinance first, but okay, that's the only question I have.
Okay, so we had a police, so when body cams got instituted, there was, if you release the tape, is there a fee for that?
That should be on the fee schedule, that was
I
attached.
might have missed it.
So I'll go to the police department section, if I can find it. So much planning.
I know, I was,
Planning.
That kills me when I
You
know.
won't see it.
Oh, there's police.
Is it in there?
Page 9 of the fee schedule. Is that here, or is that under open records, Peter? To your recollection, it looks like it might be under open records
Where is that?
for video, is that right?
Correct. I believe so.
So that would be back to page 1.
Okay, well, if it's not in there, can we get it in there? The other one,
Hold on.
okay.
Let me just, it's a contemporary discussion, so.
Yeah, so the DVD, electronic medium to flash drive or DVD.
That's what this is for.
Okay, so it's just covered under that.
Depends how big the file is, depends on how much the cost is, so anywhere from $5 to $32.
Okay, thank you. And then we had talked about the Atwater Beach permit, and we adopted a fee. We were gonna come back to see if we were gonna change the ordinance. You can ask Tyler about this, but anyways, it never came back. But when I looked at the fee schedule now, for a vendor, which is to me a transient merchant, right? I mean, it could be, it's $10. So like, we talked about this at board, and I was pretty adamant that that is way too low. Like, if I wanna sell bathing suits down there, $10 is not cutting it, like, for you to utilize my, our village's precious lakefront. So then I looked at the transient merchant, and that's $100 permit fee. So like, when I went to, the bike races one year or whatever, I had to pay $100 to bring my bathing suits there, like from Swakey Second. So I'm just saying, that was, to sell something, it was $100. And I paid it. And then a special event, if it's at Atwater, like the chicken dinner, that's $100, right? So I just feel the Atwater Beach permit fee needs to be relooked at, because Tyler, we were in a rush, and because someone had asked for a permit, and we didn't have a fee on the books, and we were gonna come back to the ordinance, because if it's a nonprofit versus profit, like, what does that mean? $10 is really cheap for
Well, there's a
profit.
$50 application fee,
Yeah.
and it's a $10 per day fee.
And so what is the transient merchant?
It's $100 for, what is the criteria for that?
Cause I was there for a
It's
day.
not per day.
I think it's a calendar year.
Okay.
I'd have to double check. I don't know off the top of my head. I'm in the process of.
What's the difference between a vendor and a transient merchant?
That's what I'm asking.
It's like a temporary pop-up type.
I think the idea behind the vendor at Water Beach was more like,
No, we didn't know. I'm
Yeah,
telling you, I had this
can't
conversation
I
at
can't
board.
speak for
And
it,
it was,
yeah, because I was not part of
It was
that.
like, well, a yoga class, right? That's a vendor, and then it was like, but
Like
that's
if they were
maybe not,
selling
or
something,
Girl
yeah.
Scouts, or, but then I was like, well, what if it's Swanky Seconds coming down and putting, you know, braids, and you know, and they want some bathing suits, like, we have nothing that prohibits that, and we have a $10 VAT. So anyways, I don't know if this is the year, but I certainly think $10 is very low to put vendoring. which
I'd be
vendors
happy to
need.
circle back with Tyler to give
Okay.
some more context on that.
Just,
Isn't the Parks Commission still working on the policy for the
Mhm.
vendors?
I was just pulling it up, cause it was on their radar.
right now, we don't have one, and so that was, it's been 2 years now, since we implemented this fee. And we haven't circled back yet. So we have, you can come tomorrow and put in a $50 application, and I can sell my bathing suits on Atwater for $10 a day. I'm just letting you guys know. I can get you for much higher.
Why is that like a threat that you're
No,
gonna
I'm
sell?
just saying,
bathing suits?
it's parades, and we want some purses, we done.
You're gonna ruin Atwater Beach, is that what you're
I wouldn't do that, but I was about to, because I was really mad after that board meeting, I'm gonna pull that damn permit and bring my, you know,
Vintage beach.
used clothing down there. Used sneakers. Really, for God's sakes.
Ripped jeans, the kids would love it.
Also same.
Well, they
Okay,
wear.
so that was the next one, and then I just thought, the refunds for parking, we talked about this, and I thought you were involved in that, I know Tyler, but can we just discontinue that? It's like so much labor intense work to say, oh, I bought a monthly permit, and I'm moving 1 week, I only used 3 weeks of it, so I need my refund for that week.
Oh.
Who else does that? Take it off, like, can we get rid of that right now?
What page is
Where is
it on?
that?
Yeah.
I guess
We
it's
can
under parking.
do that?
Yeah.
Leave your
I think
money
it's under
back?
parking.
Yes, and it's
Oh,
labor
sorry.
intense.
You lose the key, sorry.
Find a permit and, you know, you move, you move.
Uh,
I never heard that.